Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. It's the Handicap Rugby Chat that matters. And Rugby Chat is certainly going to matter in the weeks ahead as we are now under 1 month till the Rugby World Cup. And on tonight's show, we will cover the two internationals taking place this weekend. Usual rules apply with these, let's call them friendly fixtures. But we're also going to be having an early look at the Rugby World Cup betting. And here to do that with me, it's the undertaker himself, Henrik Swart. Henrik, good to have you on the show, mate. I know you're hell of a busy. Appreciate the time. But you must be getting super excited for the World Cup.
Evening, Brent. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. Like you say, less than a month ago. So, yeah, it's exciting times. Only once in 4 years. The World Cup is the ultimate as a rugby supporter and as a punter. So many opportunities to make money. So I'm really looking forward to it. And, yeah, these build-up games, you have to tread carefully with these, and not as important, but yeah, there's lots of rugby. So yeah, it's a great time for a rugby punter and a rugby supporter at the moment.
It certainly is. A welcome to the guys joining us on the live chat. We've got Mark, who's there nice and early, and Fareed as well. Henrik, just before we go on, one thing I do feel I've been punting these rugby games this weekend. You know, nothing too heavy. I actually managed to make a bit of a profit in the end. I got very fortunate. I was on, I think the newsletter best bet was France over 20.5, and they scored 21 in the first half and never added another point. So I got a bit lucky. I got a bit lucky on Aussie points as well. They scored a lot in the first half and then scored late. But I'm sort of determined not to go into the World Cup on a losing note. I want to go into the World Cup excited about the rugby, not having bet too much, and really feel fresh for what is ultimately going to be, about 6 weeks of punting.
Yeah, I'm the same, Brent. I've got the same mindset and mind frame at the moment. So I don't want to get too involved, but the NPC has also started, and I like the NPC. I didn't get too involved last weekend because I've had a bit of a bad run before that. Like you, I made a bit of profit last week, and I was also on that Aussie overs. In the end, we sweated a bit. We had to
I think you and I were WhatsApping. We were WhatsApping on that one.
Yeah, it was close. After the first, at halftime, I thought, yeah, easily we're going to get this. But yeah, then New Zealand came back and dominated a bit in the second half. But luckily, Australia came through and I made a profit like you. So yeah, now it's you have to really be careful before the World Cup, because these internationals, the warm-up games, the teams, they don't want to show a lot. They don't want to show their hand too early. So you can't really see anybody going all out. But then again, it also counts for both teams playing each other in the warm-up games. But yeah, the World Cup is the place to make money. I like the World Cup. It's one of my favorite punting tournaments. The underdogs normally are very good in the World Cup. You can go pluses and unders all the time, and you should make profit in the end.
Right, just the boys talking in the live chat. 1286Z saying, are you covering the NPC this year? Henrik, I don't know. I haven't actually looked personally at the NPC. I haven't been punting it. Have you kept an eye on it at all? Can you? I mean, I wouldn't go through each game, but are you in a position to give any bets tonight on that, or are you also out of the loop?
No, we can go through it, Brent. I've got one strong one there.
Okay, excellent. So there we go, 1286. We will have a look at that. But let's first get into the first warm-up game. England up against Wales. England started 5.5 points, favourite at the Millennium Stadium last week. They started off like they meant business, banged over a couple of penalties, led 9-6 at the break. But at the end of the day, a very disappointing England display, beaten 29 by the Welsh. Of course, loads of changes to both teams this week. What do you make of this handicap, Henrik? I expected it to come out around 9.5. I think it opened 12.5. Moved out slightly on the back of team news.
Yeah, Brent, slight preference for the plus, but I haven't got any strong feeling on this one. England have been really poor lately. They were poor at the back end of Eddie Jones, and they've been really poor under Steve Borthwick. Wales, they've been poor as well. This is two teams that you can take on in the World Cup. I'm going to be looking to take on both of these. I think they will be overvalued during the World Cup, even though Wales are one of those teams that don't go away. They always seem to stay in the fight somehow. I'm going to be looking to take both these teams on in the World Cup. And with that being said, with these two teams, I think Wales plus is the way to go here. On points, I haven't checked the weather. 45 seems a bit low. I would have liked to go unders, but 45 just seems just too low to go unders. I think small play under plus, and that's it. Just and stay out of the game. Watch the game. Don't get too involved now. Just a small play under plus for me.
Fareed saying England on the minus, Wales made 9 changes. Fareed, I was initially going to be looking at the Welsh, at the England minus here, but I'm actually with Henrik on this one. I've looked at it. England, yes, they look stronger than they did last week, but I quite like the team that Wales have selected, actually. I don't think they've selected a bad side, and I think that Wales can push them here. I'm also leaning towards overs. Need to confirm the weather, but Twickenham's certainly a ground that does drain very well, so if there is a bit of rain about before the game, it's probably not the end of the world. And I do like overs here. I think we're going to see a much more attacking England side than what we saw last week, and I think this Welsh side that is selected, I like the back line. I think there could be a few tries in them as well. So I'm leaning towards Wales on the plus, but I'm withholding my bet for now. I might well end up taking a points play on this one. Right, well, that's it. Let's have a look. Lwando coming in and saying it's a very small bet on England 1-12. And I think, Lwando, you got the right idea there. Keep things pretty small on these warm-up games. Right, let's go on to the next one. We've only got the 2 games to talk about, but hold tight. We are going to run through the MPC as well, and we'll also talk about the World Cup betting odds. Right, we've got France minus 16.5 here against Scotland. Henrik, this is exactly where I thought the game would be handicapped. I mean, last week we had a French side that was, let's call them youthful. They certainly weren't the French A team, and they ran out 21-3. They led what looked a very strong Scottish team at the break, only for Scotland to come back and win 25-21. But France have named most of their big guns, Dupont's there, Intermax there at 10. They're minus 16.5 against a Scottish side that's made, I think, 6 changes. Also doesn't look a bad side, though. What are we looking at here? We've got a points line of 45.5 as well.
Yeah, Brent, like you said, the French, they played away from home. They picked the youthful side last weekend, and they were in front 21-3. So you got to take that seriously. That even though they lost the game, to go up 21-3, that shows character from the youngsters. And now they've picked the big guns at home, 16.5. It might seem high or look high, but I don't think that's high. That's high for the French at home. The Scots got their win last week. I think they will experiment a bit more with the style they play this weekend as well. It's a away game for them. I think France minus is the way to go here. And I like this one more than the previous game, where I called the small play under Welsh. Plus, obviously, this is also a small play for me because I won't be going big on any of these warm-up games right up until the World Cup for the next few weeks. All small plays. But yeah, I like this one a bit more. So I think minus 16.5, that's a good bet.
Right. Darren just say, where did I find the points lines? PokerBet, Darren. They seem to come out earlier than most of the points lines. I tend to use them mainly for poker. So and the only reason I do that is I like to keep a separate poker budget. And so for that reason, I've been mainly focusing on the poker there. But they do have their points lines. And Henrik, I know you punt with PokerBet. Can you get a decent bet on the points lines early? You can. Okay, so there we go.
Yeah. Brent, I use PokerBet, and like you said, I make most of my rugby bets at the moment at PokerBet. I use PokerBet and Boyle Sports. That's the only 2 at the moment I use. And I can get decent bets on the points lines. But it's not PokerBet that sets those points lines. Right. There's quite a few South African bookmakers that seems to get the same feed from Europe. So I can name you 5 or 6 off the top of my head. South African bookmakers that all has the exact same points lines and exact same odds to the second decimal, like 0.79. Perfectly all the same, everybody exactly the same, so they all get the same feed. So it's not like PokerBet come out, or as much as I like PokerBet and I would advise anyone to bet with them, it's not like they come out for it comes from Europe.
Okay,
and
it's not like they come out alone.
Yes.
Darren saying France over 35.5 seems too low at that line. Yeah, Darren, I agree with you. I'd be on French points there as well, without a doubt. Okay, so yeah, just to give you my views on that one, I do think that France will beat this handicap. I even like the halftime handicap at about the -7.5 levels. And yes, Darren, I think you're spot on there. I like the points. I like the points line of France there at 30.5. That certainly could even be one for the newsletter. Last week I was on France over 20.5 in the newsletter. I also, unfortunately, took some over 21.5, but thankfully the newsletter bet was over 20.5. They scored all 21 of those points in the first half and never added to their tally. Right, that's the international games. Now, I haven't done, as I said, too much on the NPC, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up, let's bring up Sunbet here. I'm just going to change the layout slightly and see if that's a bit better. There we go. Take the banner down and we'll bring up the NPC. Hendrik, I don't know if this is all of the games, but I'm going to run through them with you, and you can just let me know if you've got any views. Tomorrow morning, we got Counties Manukau against Hawke's Bay. Here we got +9.5, the home team, and we got a points line of 55.5. Any views on that one?
Okay, so Brent, before I go through the games, I just want to say to the guys, I didn't do a lot of homework on this, and I've only seen teams for the first game, for this Counties and Hawke's Bay game. And I didn't check weather, so I'm not gonna. My thoughts is
right. No, thanks for that. Always good to rather let the guys know. Thanks, Hendrik.
Yeah. So I think Counties Manukau at home. I think they can stay within the cap. I saw Brad Weber is back for Hawke's Bay. Folau Fakatawa started last week. Hawke's Bay were disappointing for me last week. I expected more from them. Counties were pretty good, so I think Counties can stay within the cap here, and that 55.5 seems a bit low. I think this game might have points in it. This is not one of my stronger ones, but I like the plus more than the overs under points. So +9.5 to play for me there.
Well, looking at the live chat for Reader Green, Counties to stay in this one, and Darren also coming in, loves Counties to cover the cap. So nice to have some alignment there on that one. Let's move to the next game. This is, of course, Saturday morning, 4 o'clock. You're either getting home from a rough night or waking up early before you go on your morning jog. Guess which one I'll be doing? Well, it's Bay of Plenty against Waikato. And here we got a close game, Hendrik. -1.5, the Bay of Plenty. And we don't have a points line. While you're talking, though, I will go and have a look and see if, for example, PokerBet might have a points line.
I think they do have the points out, Brent. The points for this one is 53.5 at the side, but yeah, I like Bay of Plenty to win the game. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid bet at home. I expect Bay of Plenty to beat Waikato. They are a good side, and they probably going to be title contenders. But yeah, I like Bay of Plenty to win the game. Yeah.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do then, just to make it a bit easier, I'm going to bring up PokerBet's site here.
Okay.
And fortunately, I might have to move to my wife's computer. My computer was giving all sorts of nonsense tonight. That's why I moved here. And, I don't have to take the monitor off. I can hear you while the monitor's on. It's actually much easier for me to run the show from my wife's computer. I don't think she'll be too happy to hear that. But anyway, let's move on to the next game here. I'm on PokerBet now. I just want to see if I can see. I just want to I think I've got it blown up a bit big here. Just make sure I can see the handicap.
I'm checking it on my phone as well, just beneath here, so I can see it. So Otago is +5.5 at
+5.5, okay. Yeah, and a 53.5 points line.
53.5, yeah. So this is obviously under the roof. I would think it would. Yeah, it will be under the roof. So that 53.5 looks a bit low. Wellington normally play exciting game of rugby and Otago as well. So I think this game might have points. I think that 53.5 is about 7 points too light. I would make it closer to 60 points for total points. So I think while I like Otago on the plus, that is my call on the handicap. I like the +5.5, but I think the overs on total points is a better bet here. I expect this game to have points.
Right, I'm keeping the Sunbet open then as far as the handicap goes, just from a point of view. Normally I see the handicaps on PokerBet straight away there, but let's move on then to Tasman up against Auckland. I've got a feeling PokerBet have got an extra game, so we will come back to that. -3.5 Tasman here against Auckland, Hendrik, and we've got a points line of 53.5.
Yeah, this is two of the big dogs. And Tasman last week, their defense was very impressive. So this time the 53.5 points, I'd be looking at the unders play. I think both teams will just try to win the game because it is two of the big dogs. On the handicap, probably at home Tasman on the minus, but yeah, I don't like the minus on this one. I think go unders on total points, and it seems like a dangerous one on New Zealand teams to go unders, but I think under 53.5 is the call here, but not very confident. No big bet here.
Right, I did say I did no research, and that's not exactly a lie, but I did look at the results from last week, and I must say, if you were unders punter last week in the NPC, Henrik, you did okay. I was quite surprised at how low the points were.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, and again, the rule on the points, or for me at least, and I know quite a few other guys like it as well. In the NPC, if you get a low first half, you go overs at half time, and if there's a lot of points in the first half, you go unders at half time. But especially if there's not a lot of points in the first half, you go overs at half time. And normally, a lot of times there's a game of two halves in the NPC. So you do well to wait until half time with all the games and then make a call and go overs or unders. Either way, depends on the first half with the points.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a good strategy. I mean, it takes me back to last week's game, Australia against New Zealand. I mean, Australia, we were on the overs and they racked up 17 points in the first half. And, a non-punter would have been smacking you on the back, telling you that bet was landed. Yeah. But you and I both knew, even with 40 minutes to go or 50 minutes to go, that it certainly wasn't race over. That's experience talking.
Yeah, you get so many games of two halves in rugby. It's crazy. I'm not sure what happens at half time. The one team, normally it's the one team coming back. I don't think it's, and obviously you get the one team going away in the first half, and then they are a bit complacent, and the coach makes changes and stuff like that. So yeah, you can make good money if you like you say, it comes from experience. If you know how it works in italics, and you make a call at half time. If you from experience, you actually see the kind of recipe how it works. It's difficult to explain, but you probably know what I mean.
I know what you mean. The first time punter, you go, what are these two guys talking about? But it's years and years of experience. It's years of being on the ropes, taking those body blows from the bookmakers. Right, Sharkbrain arriving on how's it, Sharkbrain? Good to have you on the show. We're just going through a bit of NPC at the moment. I've got PokerBet's website up here. I've managed to I realized I had the thing zoomed in a bit too much. That's why I couldn't see the handicaps. So we've got North Harbour here against Canterbury. We've got a plus 9.5 handicap and a 56.5 points line. This game looks like it's at 4:05 on Sunday morning. Questionable whether it'll be televised, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Sunday games. Normally, SuperSport doesn't televise the Sunday games. They do one on Friday and maybe one or two on a Saturday morning, but normally not Sunday morning. I've got a dodgy stream that I use. It's tough to get in. You have to close 100 pop-ups before you get into it. But normally I get to watch the games. Sunday at 4 o'clock, I'm probably not going to watch this one, Brent. But yeah, 9.5. Canterbury were impressive last week. I didn't expect them to do as well away from home as they did. So I think you have to have respect for them in this one. So I'm going to call Canterbury on the minus here, but again, no confidence on this one. The points line, you said it, but 56, 57 thereabouts. What's the? Let me just quickly check. What's the Canterbury points line? 32.5. I've got Canterbury overs on that one. If the weather is good, it is afternoon one. So yeah.
I've got a feeling
Canterbury
over. You'll be rubber stamping that one as well.
Canterbury overs, but I think the minus 9.5 is a better one, better than the points.
All right, and then welcome to Dino, a name we haven't seen for a while. Dino, I trust you getting warmed up for the World Cup and some excellent punting there. Right, next game, it's Rugby Southland, or Southland as we call them, against Northland Here we got almost a choice game. We got Southland minus 1.5 points, and a points line here pretty low, Henrik. But I know Southland. I know there's been some stories from Thoughts on Sports on the show in the past about Southland. 48.5. It's lower than your normal points line. Do we get involved?
Yeah, they played in the deep south down in Invercargill, and it's very cold, and it's lots of times very muddy and lots of rain down there. Haven't checked the weather for this one, but so if the weather is good, I'd like the overs on Southland points. But for me, Brent, this is my strongest one on the NPC this weekend. Southland to win the game. They opened up over 12-10 to win the game. So they have, and that was earlier this morning. It only opened up because Northland played against Taranaki yesterday, and Northland played at home, and they lost against Taranaki. And Northland, they've been really poor in both their games. Southland, they played Waikato, I think, last week. Waikato last week, and they were down in the first half, quite well down, but they came back a bit. And I thought, I didn't see the game. I spoke to one of my friends earlier today, and he said Waikato stepped off the pace in the second half. But you have to respect Southland coming back. And Adam, with these two lesser teams, if you can say it like that, you've got to go for the home team. And I like Southland. Yeah, I've watched Northland game yesterday, and I was on Northland on the plus, and I lost money on them, and they were really poor. I expected them to give Taranaki a much better game, although Taranaki, they've got a very good pack. But I like Southland to win here, Brent, and I think there will be more money for Southland. I would make Southland minus 3.5 handicap favourites here. So I like them.
Farid actually likes Northland, but I have to bring that up because up until now, you and Farid have been in agreement on virtually every pick. And I mean, that would have been unprecedented if we got through almost a whole show without Farid and you butting heads. Just a comment on the Oracle. The Oracle, of course, owes me some beers after last week, a case of beers, not a can of beers, a case of beers. I'll have to get down to Cape Town to have that with him after Australia managed to nail the points. We've got one more game to talk about, Henrik. Manawatu against Taranaki. Here we got the home team, fairly big underdogs at plus 0.10.5. And a points line here. I said the last one was low at 48. Well, here we got 46.
Yeah, just a note on this game and on the previous game with Northland and Taranaki both playing 3 games in 8 days. So they are the 2 teams that played a double game this round. So that's another thing for me in favour of Southland for the game against Northland, because Northland is their 3rd game in 8 days. And then Taranaki, again, it's their 3rd game in 8 days, they're about 7-8 days. Manawatu at home. Manawatu, they were impressive last week, staying well within the handicap. And Taranaki, as good as they are up front, I think the plus is the way to go here. And after Southland to win the game, this is my second strongest fancy. Manawatu on the plus. Yeah, I like them.
Right, 100%. Well, that brings us to the end of this weekend's games. So what I want to do, Henrik, at this point is just pause to go through your best bets. Hang tight, though, guys. We're going to bring up the Rugby World Cup outright betting. There's been some squad announcements during the week, some very interesting calls made. I don't expect Henrik to be able to list the entire Georgian squad. But no, I'm only kidding. We'll certainly focus on probably South Africa, Australia, and that, where there have been some interesting decisions, and we'll look at the odds there. But before we do that, Henrik, let's go through what are your best bets for the weekend?
Southland to win, Brent. I like that. Southland to beat Northland. And then also Manawatu on the plus. That's my 2 best. On the 2 internationals, I'm not going to have a best bet on that, either of those 2. So those 2, Southland and Manawatu plus. Southland win, Manawatu plus.
Excellent. Well, to get my best bet, you'll have to wait until the newsletter comes out tomorrow. Just talking on last week, yes, we hit the bet, but Chris, I don't know if he's giving me a horse racing bet last week, but he decided he gave us a best bet last week, which we included in the newsletter, and it arrived at the time of the newsletter. I know it was 2-1. I'm not too sure what price it went off at, but well done to Chris there, and let's hope he fancies something. I do like a little bit of horse racing on a Saturday as well. I'm just looking here now to bring up another website. We're going to talk Rugby World Cup now. And let's take that best bets banner down and get the Rugby World Cup one up. Now, Henrik, we're getting very close. We're a month away from the World Cup. It's getting tense. It's getting exciting. We've had some big squad announcements this week, and I hope I didn't disappear there. My screen suddenly all went blank. But I'm going to bring up BetXchange aside. I enjoy BetX for outright markets. In particular, I must tell you guys, if you punch your golf, you've simply got to get a BetXchange account because the golf prices are phenomenal. I got some monster prices on a few of my fancies that are in this weekend's FedEx Cup tournament. But let's go into the betting. I'm going to run through it first, Henrik, and then we can just briefly touch on team by team. We've got New Zealand 5-2. I'm a punter for many years. I know that you're not going to be backing them at 5-2 to win the tournament, even though I know you have got a lot more respect for them now than you did a year ago. France are 3-1. Ireland 5-1. South Africa drifted. They were 9-2. They're out to 5-1 on the back of, I imagine, their squad announcement. Australia, who we'll get to in a sec, I jumped to back them at 12-1. Well, that price is absolutely unmoved. And England at 12-1. We've got 25-1 Argentina, 40-1 Scotland, Wales, Fiji 160. So let's first of all see, Henrik, I know you've been quite strong on the box all the way through. Do you still feel they're the play there at 5-1?
Yeah, I still feel there's lots of value on the box at that price, Brent. And I haven't got my money down yet because I didn't expect money to come from for them. So I'm happy about the drift. I'm going to back the box to win it closer to the World Cup. I expect the price to hold or actually drift a bit more. You've got to have respect for France, even though it's less than 3-1. I think France is a solid punt. I won't be backing New Zealand. Ireland's never made the semi-finals. As well as they have been playing, I can't back Ireland. Big value on Australia. I know you made a small bet on them. Obviously, like you said, it's not going to in your tweet. It's not going to be your main bet. But at that price and with the side of the draw they are on, there is value on Australia. But for me, it's between France and South Africa. I think, England. I'm not England and Wales. Draw a line through them. England, they've been really poor under Steve Borthwick. I can't see England winning the tournament, even though they are on the other side of the draw. For me, it's just between France and the box.
Yeah, I mean, the draw we've chatted about a lot. It really is a lopsided draw there. Just let's touch on Australia first. Well, I'm also going to talk about Argentina, but I see Sharkbrain saying Argentina are going to be the first country to hold the soccer and rugby World Cups at the same time. That's a bold call. I think they're 25-1. We'll get to that now. But Australia, Henrik, I know you were busy today. Did you see the Australian squad announcement? Quite interesting. Calls there. Will Skelton is captain. And I see a lot of the Aussies are very disappointed. Hooper's out, although I've got a feeling Hooper might have been carrying an injury. I don't know if there's anything official on that. But what do you make of that Australian squad? Ultimately, I see Australians saying, we're not going to get out the group. Well, I think they're definitely going to get out the group, and I see them in the semi-finals.
No, they're definitely going to get out of the group. How can they not get out the group? They will surely get out of the group. It's like, everybody said it. It's a very young squad. I'm actually looking at the squad on my other monitor just next to me. Carter Gordon, the only fly-off. Interesting. I'm a fan of his. He's been a bit hit and miss with his first few games.
Yeah, he's been a bit erratic, yeah.
Yeah, and now he's the only fly-off in the squad. So a guy like Quade Cooper not making it, I thought he would take Quade Cooper just for his experience, but Quade, he hasn't played well either. And like you said, Will Skelton now the captain. Very interesting one. I would have made Tate Gordon captain. Tate has been playing really well for the Reds, and when he's been their captain, he's led them well. But they've got James Slipper in there as well, and he's a good leader as well. It's a very young squad, Brent, but there's talent. Eddie Jones. I like Eddie Jones, but this is an interesting one. I'm not sure what to make of it. he's like a madman at the moment, to put it mildly. So you don't really know what to expect from him. He might have something up his sleeve. I'm not sure. The price they're at the right price. You can't make them shorter than that. Yeah, Eddie has to have something special up his sleeve with this one. With this young, you need experience in the World Cup, Brent. Experience counts for so much. So yeah, I'm not sure what he's gonna do. What do you feel about the squad?
Yeah, I was expecting the likes of Quade Cooper to be there. I thought that first half they turned in against New Zealand, and I appreciate they still lost the game, but I thought that was absolutely incredible. I thought it gave us a glimpse of what Australia can do. As Farid says, they got an easier run to the semis, and Sharkbrain says Australia won't make it out. They're going to get beaten by Argentina and Fiji. Not impossible, Sharkbrain, but based on your Argentina pick for the tournament, I am worried if you're on something a little bit stronger than Lucozade there tonight. But certainly not impossible. But I think Aussies are gonna be a factor. I think Eddie Jones is a shrewd coach at the end of the day, and quite interesting that it's Will Skelton captain. I mean, do you see Skelton a guy who goes 80 minutes? I kind of see Skelton as a guy who goes hard for 50 and comes off. So that I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, that is, but then again, Eddie, he's always like more than one leader in his team, even in the days he coached the Brumbies. So I'm sure, Will Skelton is the captain, but I think Tate McDermott's going to play a big leadership role as well for him, and he's the guy who will go 80 or 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's interesting because I suppose scrum off's also a position that does get subbed regularly. But I like McDermott there as well, and it's interesting he's made him vice captain. So some very interesting calls there. Farid saying he doesn't know even if Skelton's captain the side. Good point, that Farid. I'm not sure of that on that either. So yeah, interesting call. Let's talk about the South African squad quickly. So they're 5-1. Now South Africa, of course, in the tough group with Ireland and Scotland. Now South Africa also going in only with one sort of confirmed fly-off. Obviously, you've got Willemse, who can come in. And then you've got 4 scrum halves. Now, that I thought was bizarre. Henrik, I tweeted, and it got quite a lot of attention, that tweet. I tweeted, sort of a bit tongue-in-cheek, but are we going to get a situation where one of those scrum halves goes down and suddenly Pollard finds himself in the mix? Obviously, he's not fit enough yet to be named in the squad, but I've heard that he's still potentially part of the picture. Some strange decisions from let's call it from Ninabe as well. I'm saying Rassie, but of course it's Ninabe who's the head coach. What did you make of the squad?
Yeah, it is Rassie. Brent, the squad is basically what I expected. It's sad for Lukhanyo that he's out. He's a big loss for me. He's the biggest loss. I've never been an Andre Pollard fan. I've never rated him. He only plays well when Willie Leroux is in the team, and Willie is the guy who runs the back line. He is our attacking guy. He gets the back line going. So as long as Willie Leroux is there, I'm happy. The thing, I've never been a big Marnie Lebok fan, but he has grown a bit on me. He's been playing better. I'm just concerned that he does make some crucial mistakes at times. Where Pollard is more a solid guy. He doesn't get the great plays that Marnie does sometimes. Marnie can do.
He's not going to cut open a defense,
he doesn't do the special stuff that Marnie does. But Marnie, he makes some stupid mistakes as well, and you don't need that in a playoff game, because that can cost you. So, but as long as like I said, as long as Willie Leroux is there, I'm happy, and I'm happy with the back line. Then it's going to be interesting what they do at 13 with being out. I've seen guys saying that Dalende outside and Andre Ester is an inside. I'm a big Dalende fan at 12. He does the job for the box. He bashes it up, goes over the advantage line. I'd go for Jesse Creel. I know lots of guys don't like Jesse Creel, but Jesse Creel is a brilliant defender, and your 13 is your most important defender in the whole team. And in the World Cup, you win the World Cup with defense. So I would be happy to start Jesse Creel at 13. And then, we've got a good pack. We've got good props. We've got the best rugby player in the world in France, Malherbe, there. As long as he's there, your scrum's not going anywhere. Got good hookers. We've got great locks, good loosies. So, I'm happy with the box squad. There is the concern with just the one fly off, but we've only had Andre Pollard before this, and Marnie only came through this year. So the box last year they had Faf de Klerk at fly off for a long time after. So I'm a bit concerned about the goal kicking as well, because we've had Cheston kicking at goal, we've got Faf kicking at goal, and Marnie this last Saturday again, he was a bit erratic with his goal kicking. So that is a concern. So hopefully our defense will be good, because defense wins World Cups.
Yeah, and if I think of Pollard over the years, Pollard's had some very erratic goal-kicking performances. The beauty of Pollard, I guess, is when it's been the big game, he's always stepped up. Like that final against England, he was superb. He was superb. He kicked the winner against Wales. So he was, and let's hope Marnie can also step up like that. But I agree with you. I certainly don't think there should be any overreaction there. Whichever way you look at, South Africa have got a very hard route to the final, no doubt about that. Let's just go to the top team on the list there, New Zealand. Henrik, I know over the years you haven't been a Foster fan, and neither have I, possibly influenced by yourself. Now, Foster's still at the helm, but let's face it, what's changed is he sort of had his coaching staff removed, and they said, use these guys, Schmidt and Ryan, and it's been totally different New Zealand side. Personally, no value there at 5-2. They've also got one hell of a hard route through to the final, but if last year this time we were saying New Zealand can't win the World Cup, I don't know about you, but I'm not prepared to say that at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, Brent. They can definitely win it, and they've shown that they've been that game against the Box in New Zealand. That first 15 or so minutes, they were brilliant. Last week, the comeback in the second half was quite good against the Australian team playing well. As long as they have Richie Mo'unga at 10, they will be playing well. And ever since Jason Ryan has started coaching the forwards, they've turned it around, and they look impressive. So I'm not going to say they can't win, but like you said, at that price, I'm not going to back them at that price. I don't think there's any value at that price.
And France at 3-1, they are at home. They were 10-1 for this tournament when the last World Cup ended. They've consistently shortened. I think New Zealand have sort of displaced them as favourites now. I mean, it's going to be big, but then again, who would want to be playing France in front of a home crowd? They've also got a tough draw in the sense that they play likely Ireland or South Africa in the quarters, but a much easier route out of the group than, for example, South Africa and Ireland have. They don't have a Scotland lurking in their group. What do you think of them? I think you kind of know where I'm going with this. You kind of know where my money's probably going, eh?
Yeah, and I agree with you, Brent. I think that France at home and the way they're playing, the coach staff, the squad staff, this is probably the most settled squad that France have gone into World Cup with. Lots of times before they weren't sure how to pick the team. You'd have one team the one week, other team the next weekend. Now you know what France's best team is, and playing at home, I think that's a very good price on them. I think at home they should be favourites. I would swap them and New Zealand around with the prices, and then I would still back France at that price. So at 3-1, I think there's some value in France.
That's it. You just feel like you've got to get through that jolly quarterfinal game, and you'll be okay. It's certainly a strange from a betting perspective. Ireland at 5-1. You mentioned they haven't made semis. Interesting to see how Johnny Sexton goes, but same thing. I suppose it's only right that they're similar price to South Africa at 5-1. 25-1 Argentina, Henrik. Now, Shark Brain, who has made some controversial statements in the live chat, I must tell you tonight, he has said Argentina can win the World Cup. Now, they're 25-1. They've got a pretty easy group. They're with England in the group, and then likely play Australia or Wales in the quarterfinals, depending on how things go there. So they've got a reasonable march you'd say they've got a reasonable shot at making the semis. The question is, can they then roll one of the big boys?
Brent, I expect Argentina to win their group. I see them beating England. So I'm expecting them to finish top. And you said then they play Australia or Wales probably. And
Yes, in the quarters. Yeah.
I think they can beat one of those. So I think I can see Argentina making the semis at least.
Yes, well, I'm expecting Australia to top the group and potentially England. Yeah, I'm actually hoping they don't play Argentina because, as you know, I've got a bit. I mean, sorry, they don't play Australia because I've got a bit of bucks on there. But nothing else. I don't think you got 40-1 Scotland or Wales. You know, the thing about the World Cup is, you know, how many teams can really win the World Cup? You know, maybe 5 or so. So yes, Scotland might shock and go out the group, but you know, then they run into a New Zealand or a France at the quarterfinal. It really is hard to see them going any further. And then, okay, so I won't go through the group betting now. As you can imagine, Pool C and D are pretty lopsided with the betting, where you get a very competitive pool. I think we're in Pool A, and I'll quickly run through
Brent. Brent, I think there's value in Argentina topping their pool. It's obviously their group. So it's they have to beat England to top the group. So you're getting a price of more than 2-1, about 22-10 thereabouts on Argentina to beat England, and I think that's a good one. I expect the price to be lower when they play the game against each other. So I like Argentina to win Pool D.
Right. Well, we'll certainly be focusing more on the World Cup in the coming weeks. But Henrik, let me ask you this. We don't have a lot of exotic markets out from what I've seen, and I'm talking long-term plays. Any you particularly looking out for? I mean, I always enjoy things like top point scorer. I know Oracle was very strong on Pollard in the last tournament and won nicely on that one. But you get top point scorer, top try scorer. Any particular markets you're looking forward to seeing the bookies price up?
Brent, I like the total points for the tournament and total tries for the tournament. Those type of bets. Last tournament, I got on the total tries and total points on the unders for the whole tournament, and it came through easily. It came really easily. So yeah, normally the thing is the defenses are much better. The lesser teams are in camp much longer before the World Cup than they would normally be for June international, something like that. So that's what makes the pluses better as well. So if you get a big handicap, you have to go for a plus. Very seldom in the World Cup does a big team beat the minus on a big handicap, because the lesser team has been in camp for longer. They are giving it the all for the World Cup. They are playing just for the World Cup, and the bigger team, they just want to win the game, maybe get the bonus point. They are not worried that much about points difference, because, like you said, the pools are fairly predictable who will end first and second. It's not really going to come down to points difference. So the plus is the way to go on the games. And then, like I said, under long terms, I'm looking for those markets. I'm not sure whether we're going to get them, but I would be looking on unders on total points and total tries for the tournament.
Yeah, I've got no doubt we definitely will get them, and it's certainly something we've got to give a bit of thought to before the line even comes out, because I can imagine moving pretty quickly. I'd like to go and look back. I might have even written an article or two in the 2019 World Cup and see what the lines were there and the sort of average points per game. But I fully agree with you. The gap between the top and bottom is still pretty large, but it's getting smaller every year. And it's getting harder. You're not getting those results, that ridiculous score against Japan in the 95 World Cup from New Zealand, where what did they score, like 121 or something crazy like that. Those sort of results are not coming in. So, lots to look forward to. I remember one World Cup, I sold shirt numbers. You know, we don't have South Africa bookies doing spreads anymore, but I sold shirt numbers in every game for 50 Rand a point. And I think I ended up making something like 3,000 or 4,000 Rand with that experiment.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, but there was a stop loss of 40. I think I did it with Sport. What was it called? Sports Bet at the time. There was a stop loss of 40. So the odd game that ran a mock where you got like a ridiculous thing, I only lost 40 units. And that made a difference, because if you look at some of the overseas spread guys like SpreadX, they don't have a stopper. So you can win consistently, and then you can have one game which absolutely cleans out. But maybe I'll look to get my spread betting account going again for the Rugby World Cup. But Henrik, mate, it's been great having you on. We'll definitely be talking to you in the build-up to the World Cup. We've got a few more friendlies and that. But yeah, have a great punting weekend.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, looking forward to the next few weeks. Going to be exciting, and yeah, don't break the bank this weekend, guys. It's not an important game. So rather keep the money for the big thing. But good luck, anybody having a punt.
Excellent. And thanks to all the boys in the live chat. I've missed some of the latest comments there. I think some discussion around Wayne Smith. But thanks, boys. Have a good weekend. And we'll be back next week, Thursday, 9:00 with the rugby chat. With the handicap. Geez, I think I'm the one who's been potting here tonight with the handicap rugby chat that matters.